Welcome, welcome. give, give people a couple minutes to get in here. Good afternoon. This is Patrick. You're trading with Prime. Let's get straight into it. First thing I want to go over is I want to go over white charts. We'll let people start to pour in here. I apologize about last week. We were out of town. Didn't get back till late, so we did not have a live stream last week. Apologize. We'll get back on schedule here. Let's get straight into it. What I want to first look at is the CBOE equity put to call ratio. And we were trading about 0.45 puts for every 100 calls. Normally, with a contrarian way of looking at this, is the less people holding puts, the more bullish the market. The more bullish the market goes. Some traders like to look at this as the contrarian way of trading. And if we have less puts for every 100 calls, if you get the boat leaned too far to the right side or to the left side, whichever that is, too many people holding calls, it could mean that a turn is near. That's one way of looking at it. And the last two times that happened, we have a date back here around September 1st, which it was accurate around that time because we had a market top around September 1st, or that was the highs. And then before that, you had a date back here, June 8th. And if you go back and look at the charts, same thing goes for June 8th. You had a turn in the market. And if you go all the way back here to February 19th, was around the time market is extremely bullish. That was around the time of the coronavirus, beginning of the coronavirus crash. So this is a nice little tool to look for as far as how bullish or bearish the market is. And then if this chart is showing you that there are a lot of people holding calls out there, that is one way of looking at it. However, with that said, I wouldn't necessarily trade off this information alone. It's a tool. We like to have it in our back pocket for times when we feel like the market is getting a little ahead of itself. And it doesn't mean sell your positions or short the market. It just means that we need to be cautious on buying extreme prices without some sort of consolidation period. How's it going, Barris? We will let people pile in here. Okay, so, and of course my YouTube is acting funny as usual. So let's get into it. This is the first thing I wanted to look at was the CBOE. Second thing I want to look at is something I kind of wanted to talk about. Something that I wanted to touch on was I saw I saw a few videos this weekend. I don't know. I've been seeing videos where people are making some pretty interesting options trades, and they're posting these videos for the world to see. And sometimes these places have a lot of followers. And I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong necessarily. Like I'm all for sharing knowledge and sharing information. This is like as a more of a recommendation for people who like to trade options. It's very dangerous to buy options, especially when they are hitting YouTube channels and people are spreading the word on YouTube and these groups have followers. When you post option alerts, a lot of times what happens is the bidders themselves will run up the option prices even though the share prices of the underlying stock is not rallying. And I see this a lot. So you got to be really careful when you're find out where you're getting option alerts from, how many places they post in, and also especially if it's somebody on YouTube, when there's a 20-second delay, if somebody on YouTube is saying that they're buying options based on unusual options activity, I'm not surprised to see $1 million sweeps. It's not surprising. Yeah, sure, maybe in some of the names, but there are a lot of people out there that have a lot of money. And so to trade based on this information, to trade solely on the information of there's an alert service, or if it's off of information of, I trust this person who's running this channel, so I'm going to just go off of what they're saying and I'm just going to buy these calls. You got to be very careful. So we did see unusual option activity in DraftKings, and I won't harp on that too much more than that. There's unusual activity going on in DraftKings. We saw this earlier in the week, but I saw several places that were saying this on YouTube, that DraftKings is a buy calls. now's the time to buy it. That may be true. It absolutely may be true. We'll go look at the chart here in a second. But in my opinion, it's better to really take into consideration how many people are buying those same amount of calls, because the prices can get very expensive very fast without the share prices on the underlying stock go up. Okay, that's enough of that. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you're tuning in from. We'll get to the charts here in a second, and we're going to keep tonight. We'll try to run through tonight as quickly as we can. So here's the other thing is, now we're looking at CNBC, and it doesn't matter, you know, wherever you get your news from as far as your financial feed. I like to look at several different places because I want to get an overall picture of sentiment in the marketplaces. And so this is what we're looking for. The Dow, the S&P, everything's green. I'm assuming it has to do with the stimulus idea that we're going to get stimulus this week. Also keep in mind, since we're on that market rallying the next couple weeks, let's think about this. There is going to be earnings coming out for some major companies. We have a lot of earnings coming up this week, not just for the major ones that are just the main companies, but we have earnings across the board. So we got to be mindful of that. You can see a lot of days where we have insane rallies, and then the next day it'll sell off pretty hard. We've got political reasons why the market should be whipsawing. We've got earnings reasons why the market will be whipsawing. We've got virus things on why the market should be whipsawing. So we got to keep these things in mind. Let me know, guys, if I'm talking too loud or too quiet. I can turn this thing up or turn it down. I think it's loud enough, though. Probably hurting your ears. Okay, so with all that said, I'm here to tell you, in case it's not news, and this is why I want us to really think about this in a different aspect. Of course there's stimulus that's going to come, whether it's from the players that we know right now, the Democrats, Republicans, the president, or the administration. No matter what, before election, after election, at some point we're going to get stimulus. The Feds jumped in 2008 and they bought the market for 10 years. So, you know, I don't know what the actual figure is or what the figures were. This time it's even more. They've already gone all in. They're not going to stop now. So is the market up, or is it going to be running up into an idea that we're going to get some sort of stimulus package? I don't know how many people out there believe that we're not going to get a stimulus package, but it's no surprise that we're going to get a stimulus package. You know, whether you believe it or not, politically, I think the country needs it. So not to get political, it'd be nice if everybody working, but the reality is not everyone is working. And so we'll see what happens. There will come a day when the mortgage crisis, maybe it's not going to be a crisis this time around, but a day will come when people are going to be forced to either pay their mortgages or pay their loans or pay their rent or pay their whatever they're into, and they possibly will get the final eviction notice because they haven't paid in the laws. And I don't know what day that this actually happens. Maybe it already happened, but a day will come when people are going to be forced to either pay or vacate. Sad as that is, it's the reality. The country's not 100%. With that said, now let's go look at the chart, because no matter how dark of a picture that we can paint, what will really tell us, how will we know if this stuff is really true or not? What we're going to do is we're going to look at the charts, because I don't know, it could get ugly really fast. It can stay up. The market can continue rallying, and I want us to be aware of both scenarios. We can't really say the market's going to sell off or rally. We'll start with the S&P 500. And we'll get into your guys' stuff. Okay. Or the community's stuff, all of our stuff. So first thing I want to look at is S&P 500. We do see an all-time high of 358.75, and let me make that a little smaller because it's we see an all-time high of 358.75, and what are we doing right now? Without knowing what the news is, without knowing there's a virus, without knowing anything, and we're just going to take the data from the chart. What does it look like the chart is doing? It looks like the chart is trying to go test those all-time highs. It looked like the chart was doing that this week. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. It did look like it put in a high in here, and it's more, this candle is a indecision candle, and so normally that is a sign that the market will want to turn or is going to turn. Keep this in mind, though. We're gonna put all the things together, and then we're gonna ask ourselves, what do we think the market's gonna do? As far as the S&P 500 is concerned, the S&P 500 can still pull back to this figure right here. Let me do this. And let me zoom in so you guys can see this. See this big green candle here? As long as the S&P 500 stays above that candle, above the low of that candle, and the low is 334.38. So it can bounce around here as much as it wants, and it's still bullish, right? It's above all three moving averages. So virus or no virus, stimulus or no stimulus, this thing is bullish. I would not be surprised to see it pull back to the lows of this 335 area, 334 around there. I would not be surprised to see that pullback. In fact, that pullback would be much welcomed, and I would be buying that dip if it happened. I'm not going to be buying at these prices up here, but I do personally think that we're going to see higher prices before we see a market. You know, we'll go through one at a time. QQQ. I do see this is what it looks like to me, even though it's in an uptrend above all the moving averages. This is a weekly convinced on the height of this. It is a weekly reversal candle. Here it looked like it tried to market, ran up to 10 off from then. The way we're going to know this is, again, the price needs to start closing below this figure, but it's around 274. Price needs to close below that. I don't know if that's going to happen this week, but we will see. Here's something to consider. Again, without looking at the news and without knowing what all that is, if we just zoomed in on this price action right here, what do we see? We see the market rally, and to me, what it looks like is it just pulled back. It's just another pullback, and now it's rallying again. The question remains, is it going to now sell off, or is it going to consolidate and then find higher prices? We don't know yet. We'll figure that out soon. Let's look at the IWM. IWM, let me know what you guys think also. If you agree, disagree, start commenting if you agree with these things. Okay, IWM, now we can see things change a little bit, right? We were looking at the S&P 500 or the SPY. We looked at the Qs. Both of them were indecision candles, weekly reversal candle. And now we get to the IWM, which is the small caps, and now we see an extremely bullish market. For a sense of what the broad market is doing and what the economy is like, not that the economy is 100% right now, but the IWM looks like it wants higher prices. In fact, this is an extremely bullish chart. It looks like it wants to break out. It looks like it wants higher prices. The price tried to sell off, and then the dip buyers showed up, rallying this thing back up here. I would think that this is a market leader. So if the IWM is rallying, it is not going to get very far without the S&P 500 or the QQQs, but it could be possible we see rotation in different sectors go from other sectors into other sectors. But as a general sense, they all kind of rally together and sell off together. Let's look at the XLF. Same thing with the XLF, which is kind of something to note is the XLF out of all of them look a lot more bearish than... They look a lot more, your internet is choppy. You know, I don't know if I can, I'm on gig internet. So it is interesting if it does look choppy. Okay, we'll see what we can do about that. There's a lot more room to the upside in the XLF. I'm not 100% convinced. This is an extremely bearish looking chart, in my opinion, but... Another way of looking at it is if the markets did start to rally, this looks like it has a lot more upside potential. So maybe the XLF wants to come test this candle up here. It's a consolidation. It ran up and it's consolidating. If I zoom in a little bit further, and mind you, this is a weekly chart, so a lot of time has to pass. But again, as long as price can stay up above this area, like let's say it ping pongs back in here, that's bullish, not bearish, right? Is if it can consolidate in this area we had after the last up move, I would expect higher prices, not lower prices. But anything is possible. And in fact, I just thought of something else. Let me go back to it really quick on IWM. One more thing to think about is this does kind of look like a hanging man candle. I know I said it was bullish 5 seconds ago, but in the IWM, this candle could be a hanging man, which sometimes people look at it and say that that's bearish. But I have to just really urge caution, and we have to look at the context. The context is this previous week's candle. Right now it's just consolidating for higher prices, not lower prices, but that could be perceived as bearish, I guess. That's one way to look at it. IWM, same thing, consolidation. Let's look at the transports. Transports, this is where I'm kind of mixed. Same thing, I see kind of a topping pattern, topping candle. What would be really interesting, and this happens a lot, is you'll see, if you can see this on here, look at the if you notice this huge green candle and then you see this peak right here, this small red candle, what would be really interesting is to see a huge red candle come all the way down to the lows of this green one. If you see that three candle pattern, sometimes that can be looked at as a topping pattern, but so far it's just consolidation. I know there's more that could go into this. I'm just, in all intents and purposes, it rallied, or it consolidated for several weeks, for 4 or 5 weeks, and then it shot out of that. So even if it did sell off, it would take a black swan to get this candle price to just shoot through this prior consolidation area. It would take a lot of work for that to happen. But it doesn't mean that it can't. What else were we going to look at? So that's those. Now let's go look at a couple of the names, right? And again, this is the weekly chart. Definitely looks like a reversal candle in Apple, which they have earnings coming up. Microsoft has earnings coming up. It's not a red candle, but it almost looks like a weekly reversal candle. But again, it could just be consolidation for higher prices. Let's look at Google. Google's bullish. Looks like it wants higher prices. In fact, it looks like it just pulled back at the end of the day on Friday, but it looks like it wants higher prices. Look at Amazon. Oops. Amazon, almost the same thing. It ran up, it went to go test the all-time highs and then pulled back. To me, that looks like it could be bearish, but it has a lot of work that it can do to get down here. I mean, it's got a lot of work for this thing to be bearish. Well, first of all, you would have to not just take out the previous week's lows, you would have to take out these lows down here. You'd have to take out 3,000 to become bearish. And even then, it would still almost be above all 3 moving averages. So it's hard to say any of these would be bearish. But as far as in the upcoming couple of weeks here, what else we're going to look at? Netflix. Did I miss one? Netflix, same thing. It's really hard to say that this is bearish, but triple top, double top, quadruple top, I don't know what we want to call this. It has a lot of room in here to consolidate. A lot of room to consolidate above these moving averages. Just because I don't think that we should short, or looking at these charts, that doesn't make me want to short. But then again, it also doesn't make me want to be a buyer just yet until we see better risk versus reward potential. I don't know why my internet is doing the thing. I don't know. It's so weird. I'll have to figure that out. Hopefully it'll work its way. Okay. Off of these guys. Go ahead and guys start posting your ticker symbols in the comment section underneath the video. We will start looking at your guys' stocks that you want to watch. Meanwhile, I'm going to flip over to this personal callouts. I'll start loading into this section over here under callouts. I'm going to start running through the first. I had a couple people ask me for okay, yeah, I don't know why my internet is doing this thing. I see it too because the YouTube is chopping, or not chopping, but it's like glitching in and out. I don't know. Oh yeah, is it Microsoft? Did I look at Microsoft? Yeah, we looked at Microsoft. But same thing. It's like it's in an uptrend. It has a lot of room. Microsoft could pull back to 205 and it's still bullish on a weekly time frame. But as far as the weekly candle itself, it looks like it had the topping back here on 831, and then it just ran up and tested. Didn't even get to the highs and started selling off a little bit. Maybe it needs to consolidate a little bit longer. Okay, I'm gonna look at CR. A couple people asked me to do reviews, and then I have a couple want to go over, and then we definitely go over you guys. Yeah, we'll go over Nikola, AMD. CRSP, this is the weekly. I'm going to flip to a daily. Daily chart looks clean. It looks like it wants higher prices. I'm not one to really be buying into this kind of strength. I know, especially with options, you got to be very careful as far as the volatility goes, or implied volatility. How much premium do we really want to spend? We got to be very careful with this. Price can still come back here to the $100 price area, and if it did, I probably would be a buyer in this one. I do see a little bit of a resistance area up here, and so maybe price, it broke out. Maybe at some point it will want to come back here and back test. Now, I may not get that opportunity. I think coming into Monday, maybe we'll gap higher on Monday and then just take off from there. again, I'm not chasing a gap open on Monday if there's a gap open to the upside. Let's go to Neo. Neo, same thing. There's nothing wrong with this at all. We got to be mindful though of not looking too bad on the weekly time frame as far as it being like extended or not extended. It looks like it is bullish. It keeps having higher highs, higher lows. The problem with something like Neo is it doesn't give you a lot of room to get in. So there's not a lot of dip buying opportunities. The dips get bought up pretty fast, and then so we'll see how this turns out. It looks like we did have one of these in here. This is as clean as it gets. It ran up, it pulled back, consolidating, and it's just riding this 20 period moving average, this 20-day moving average. It broke out and has back tested once, back tested twice, and is now rallying. I'm not interested in something that looks like this, especially a company. I know that a lot of people trade, like Baba, and there's a lot of companies that come out of China. My opinion on the way this works is that, do we know a lot about their financials? We can't force them to get audited. So do I want my money to be parked in a company that I can't audit? It's concerning to me when I see this sorts of money being flown into some of these companies. However, with that said, it would be worth it, in my opinion, to invest anywhere from 2 to 5% into some of these companies. I don't see anything wrong with that, but as we get more and more money flowing into them, we just have to be mindful of where our money is really going. And I'm sure, people in China can say the same thing about companies here. But I do, since we're on that subject also, China GDP is coming out, and rumor has it China's GDP is going to be massive compared to the last couple of years, which would be kind of interesting as far as the coronavirus goes. And if they really have a handle on it over there, that can be a really positive thing for around the world. So something to really look at this as these Chinese GDP numbers come out. We could look at it in one aspect and say there's two things I want us to look at this. Number one is, let me capture on comments here. So the first thing of this is this: about 2 years ago, or maybe might have been 3 years ago. No, I think it was about 2 years ago. We had this trade deal thing going with China, and I remember when China had like the worst GDP numbers, and back then I was thinking that what it would do is because their GDP numbers were so bad that the US markets and future markets would sell off because of these GDP numbers. They were absolutely awful, the worst GDP numbers in like 7 or 8 years, however long it was. And I thought that I had a massive short position on the S&P 500. And I thought that because China's GDP numbers were really bad, normally it would pull down the US markets. However, what happened was traders bought up that dip. They bought it. The futures ran up like 500-600 points, all because they thought that because China's GDP numbers were going to be that bad, that it would help the trade deal, that the trade deal will get helped along. And by the way, the trade deal still hasn't, I don't know whatever came about with the trade deal, but it's like the market completely forgot about it or something. But the trade deal, China was going to need this trade deal. They're going to need to sign to it, and I think they eventually did sign on. They eventually signed on to parts of the trade deal, but it wasn't what it was back then. It's a completely different deal now. So that's something to keep in mind, is like, if the China has really good GDP numbers this time around, do you think the market will sell? Or maybe answer this in the comment section. Do you think that the market will sell, the US market will sell off because China no longer needs our trade deal? Or do you think that the market will even care? I suspect the market's not even going to care. If anything, the market's going to rally and appreciate the China GDP numbers. Okay, enough of the China. That was something I wanted to talk about before, but I forgot. Okay, RYAM, RYAM, and this one I think that there is. Let me go to the weekly chart. A lot of room to the upside. I don't remember who asked for this one. We do have some resistance coming in around $6.12. I know this is a penny stock, but it wasn't before. It is now. It looks like it found a bottom at 90 cents. Congratulations, whoever bought that dip. And now it's up 360% off the lows. But as far as the upside, it looks like it has a lot of room up here. And you can see what happened recently, and this is, of course, the weekly chart. But I could draw a line right here, and you can see how price ran up to that level, and then it sold off immediately. Well, here's the thing. After it ran up and then sold off immediately, now if we can do this and zoom in just like this, here's something I want you guys to kind of look at. See how it ran up? This is a little bit technical analysis. See how it ran up to this, see this band of consolidation right here? Remember how before we were talking about the Dow Jones transports, and I was saying how price doesn't just shoot right through a prior consolidation area? This is the same thing, but to the upside. Price isn't just going to shoot right through that area like it's not even there. And look what happened. Price shot up to it and then immediately got rejected. But guess what? Since then, it's found support. And there's actually a weekly reversal candle right here. Let me zoom in. Whoever found this one, amazing job. Because this is the kind of chart that I would absolutely be interested in. See this weekly reversal candle right there? It's this green one, green hammer candle. It looks like it wants higher prices. In fact, next time it's up here, I don't know. It's above 2 of the moving averages. If this thing can consolidate for one more week, I'd be interested, definitely interested in purchasing this one. And the reason why is because the amount of room it has to the upside. The next area of serious resistance, it's got resistance first at, if it can clear $4.48, the next area is probably up here on $6.20. Kind of worth a trade. Okay, AMD. Definitely bullish as far as the context of the last, this is the 10-year weekly chart. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Let's go to the daily chart. I do like AMD, absolutely. It's above all the moving averages. The only thing I'll have to say about this, I think we had a short trade recently in this one. Anyway, some people might look at this and say this is a left shoulder, this is the right shoulder, which may or may not be true. Keep in mind that if you are trading a head and shoulders pattern, in order to call it a head and shoulders pattern, it'd have to actually break down through the neckline, depending on where you're drawing the neckline. Some people draw it above the shoulders and underneath the head. Anyway, but for me, I would draw it underneath of the shoulders and say this is the left, this is the head, this is the right. That's a lot of room, though. That's a lot of room to be calling this a head and shoulders. Anyway, that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at this is I see this up move and I see a consolidation, maybe this triangle pattern, maybe it wants higher prices. One thing I don't like about AMD, and I think we were talking about this one, Barris, possibly, if I remember right. One thing I don't like about this is, see this 20-period moving average? I don't like how price hasn't immediately shot off of that. You know what I mean? Like, it came down to test it once, it rallied away, it came in down and tested it again, and now it's trading sideways. So another way of looking at this completely is it had a down move and it's been consolidating just above the 20-day moving average. So down move, little bounce, consolidation, down move, and now it's been going sideways. See the difference? So that thing is a little bit concerning to me, although the futures are up right now, I believe. So maybe we'll see tomorrow if this thing is going to possibly rally. One thing to note, if I was long in this trade right now, which I'm not, but if I was, I would have a stop. I would have a stop just under the low of this candle, so maybe around 81, maybe around 82.30. I would keep a really tight stop, because if it does fall below Friday's low, if it falls below that, it could want to head all the way down here to 79.39, somewhere around there. F-E-Y-E. Above all the moving averages, definitely bullish. The only thing about this is that I usually don't put a lot of weight in moving averages. Is if moving averages, if price is going through them over and over again, which it looks like this one has been going through over and over again. If there was let's say if there was, and some traders look at this and say, well, it would be bearish for price to be underneath the 200-period moving average. However, let's just say hypothetically the 200-period moving average was up here. It would start to act as a magnet, you know what I mean? Like, until it got to it, and then it would be rejected from it. So it'd be a good price target to the upside. Now, this is above all three, nonetheless, so it is more bullish than it is bearish. But let me get a different picture on this. Let me see what the weekly chart looks like. And even this is like the sideways kind of movement. I know it's not really sideways. These are pretty wide swings. You've got a 754 on the low, the high is 2061. There's a little bit more hope as far as that goes. It has a lot of work to do though, as far as the weekly chart goes. Another way of looking at this is this could be an overall down move, and then it's just been consolidating up here for another possible down move. That is one way of looking at it. However, I'm going to say this now because this is really going to throw it for a spin. I'm going to put it on the back to the daily. Another way of looking at this whole thing completely is this. You have this base of support here. You've got higher lows, higher highs coming off the lows. In fact, if you were to put a volume weighted average price, I bet you it would look something like that. I don't know for sure. I'm just hypothetical here. Something to really watch now is it might want to try to clear over this area when I'll give you an actual price on that. The high of this red candle is 1503. And so we've already come close. A couple days ago, we got up to 1455. I know it's not super close, but it's within 50 cents. It pulled back. It did it again, a second day in a row, pulled back. And now it's rallying again. It's coiling up here. So what I'm going to say is this. If price starts heading back up here one more time, I would not imagine that this red candle's resistance would actually hold. I believe that price would go right through it at this point. The more price shoots up into an area, a zone, the more times that price shoots up into that zone, the more likely it is for it to gap above it, or the more likely it just is to go right past it. Same is true to the downside. My internet is cutting off. Is my internet like that for all? Let's do a poll really quick. Can you guys all answer me at the same time? Is my internet okay? Is that my internet? Okay. I'm gonna go for a few more minutes. It's been fine for me. Okay, so some people it's okay. They go off in the beginning. It's fine. Okay. Yeah, I'm on gig internet. It's like sometimes maybe they tell us that we're on the gig internet, but we're not. Okay, Piton, and then we'll go. So start putting your ticker symbols. We'll try to keep this brief, but we'll go through them. I'll go back through. I know you guys put some at the top, so I'll go back through and read through it here in a second. PTON. I've had a couple people tell me how crazy I was to be holding a short position. No. Not just that I was holding a short position. The amount of money that I left on the table. Here's what I want to say about this, because my trading is a little bit different. Some people, anyway, I like to use the daily chart and I like to use the hourly chart. And so I know we see the intraday spikes and these little intraday, like you see a lot of volume coming in. Remember we were talking at the beginning of this stream, we were talking about seeing volume activity and seeing option sweeps, and you see all these people posting stuff about how many millions of dollars were bought in calls. So that means the stock must go up, which by the way, we should go look at DraftKings. So what is the ticker for DraftKings? DKNG? Okay. This is what I'm going to say about DraftKings, because I saw several days ago people were buying this for some reason. Like 3 days ago, people were buying call, like, and I'm not saying like in our group. I'm saying I saw people on YouTube promoting buying calls on DKNG. I saw some crazy speculation with DKNG. That is true. Maybe somebody that has a lot of money must know something, or somebody with a lot of money just made a really dumb bet. Like we don't know. Like just because we see an option sweep doesn't mean, it could be a bank hedging a position. Maybe they're shorting it and they're buying a bunch of calls to hedge the short. Like who knows? Now, this has a lot of work to do. And I don't mean to say the people that were posting things on YouTube were like insane, but like it doesn't make sense to me when you see a chart selling off like this. Like why not let it come down to $40? It wants to come down lower. Let it come down to the old breakout zone. If you look at the chart and just look at the daily chart, for instance, and see what it wants to do, see where it wants to head, see where it's going. It looks like it wants to come test a former breakout area. It looks like exactly like what it wants to do. Now, by all means, tomorrow we could gap higher and just start rallying. That's absolutely true. We could. But we have to really look at the chart and like say like, is this really what it's doing? Let's look at the weekly chart. And I don't want to get off of my old subject that I was on. I just want to touch on this one more time because I know a lot of people are trading this. Let it come down to where it wants to come down to. And so when I see people that some people are posting things, posting videos on YouTube, and it was not just one stream person, it was like several. I saw a lot, and that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up, because I saw a bunch of them, probably at least three different sources on people buying calls on DraftKings. Now, with that said, sure, in a month from now, it could be rallying up to, $100. That's absolutely true. But when we look at the chart, we got to be careful when we're buying calls, guys, because the call price will go up even though the stock price is going down because people are bidding up the prices. So I'm just saying, be careful. Piton. Speaking of crazy people, my Piton my Piton short. So I might be a little bit different of a trader. So I'm swinging a short trade, and I will hold it. I'm happy to leave the money on the table. I'm happy to leave the money out there knowing full well that I could lose it if Piton rallies, which, let's look at the chart here. I mean, it's bullish. There's nothing on this chart. Technically, there's nothing that says short me. There is no reversal candle other than Friday's candle, which was not, it'd be even more of a reversal candle if it closed below the low of Thursday, but it didn't even do that. It has a lot of room in here. But one thing I have several reasons for this. Number one was not just the recall on equipment. I don't even know if I knew about the recall. I think I found about the recall afterward, but it's not just the recall. It's the type of trader I am. I'm not interested in the small pumps throughout the day. I'm interested in letting the option grow in, like letting it mature. I want to let the option mature. I'd rather get stopped out of the trade than close my position early. And I'm interested in Piton around $100. I think it's absolutely reasonable for Piton at some point between $100. I don't want to say $100. No. Let's not get crazy here. $112. Let's say that. And where would that be at? $112 would be 19% drawdown, right? But that seems like pretty legitimate support, right? Like, let's look at this weekly chart. 120 would be, I mean, look at that. That's nothing on this chart. So here's the 120. No, it's not. Okay, I wanted to do this. Here's 120, right? Is that much further away? We're only talking another 7%, right? Now, I'm not saying that will happen. For all I know, I'll get stopped out of the trade, but it's worth it to me to see if that will happen. It would make sense, right? Like, when we go back here and we look at Piton from the year, from the March lows till the all-time high is almost 700%. Let's go to a weekly time frame just so I can really paint a picture of the weekly chart. Okay. I'm not interested in taking the small trade on I'd rather be stopped out of the trade. I'm going to stay in it until I get stopped out. Whether that's at book profit, I'll start booking profit this week. Okay, let me get off of these. Get to your guys'. I've talked long enough. What was that, 40 minutes? Man, my gosh. Well, 10 of those minutes we're talking about internet, so that doesn't count. Okay, so we went over Microsoft, went over AMD and KLA. And I might be wrong about that Piton trade. I might be crazy. There's so many reasons why I took that trade, and we don't have time to get into all of them. Wow, I didn't even know about this minus 16% on Friday. Was that Friday? Wow, beautiful whoever was in that trade. Well, first of all, ever since price has been below all three moving averages, in fact, I would say, here's the thing. We have a high of $93. So well done, whoever's been shorting it from then. High, lower high, lower high, Yeah, this one's a little bit of a higher low compared to this one here, but it's still a lower high compared to a trend wise. It's in a downtrend. What do we do in downtrends? And so first of all, this is the daily chart. We are in the middle of a trend here. So we're coming into somewhat of, I want to say, support. So maybe we'll get a bounce tomorrow. Maybe we won't, but maybe we will. This seems like a logical place, 1778, somewhere around that area. But in downtrends, it's easier to short. It's more probable to make money by shorting than going long. But if you wanted to go long, this looks like a reasonably good place to do it. I just wouldn't be so sure on catching falling knives that look like this. I mean, that's pretty ugly. Another thing to look at is, let's take a look at the weekly chart. Same thing in the weekly chart. Now you can clearly see the downtrend, right? Now it looks like, now looking at this chart, do you think it's going to stop here at 1758? Or do we think it's going to go down to 1580? And heck, we could even go all the way down to 1283. That would not surprise me. It's not the first time we've seen this. Now, let's talk about electronic vehicles. We can. Electronic vehicles are a thing of the future, right? And I don't know enough about this company and pass judgment on this company. This looks like a fraud. this downtrend looks like a fraud. But I don't know. Are these companies? Piton was NKLA was up 845% this year. Did it have 845% returns this year on their profit? You know, did NIO, did Tesla? It's all speculation. And this is what happens when people speculate a stock. It goes all the way up here to $100 in that short of time frame, and then we find out the truth about the company, and then it gets deflated. They all do this. The pot stocks did this in 2017, 2018. We're going in, yeah, 18. It was 2018. All the pot stocks ran up like this. Bitcoin did it already, and they do this. They run up and they sell off, and now we see them coming back to life. We see Bitcoin coming back to life. We see the pot stocks coming back to life. A day will come when Tesla, this is what Tesla will look like, and this is what NKLA will look like, and this is what Workhorse will look like. A day will come that it happens, and when it does, remember this. That's what they want you to think. They want every person out of the trade so the institutions can come buy it again. So when you see Tesla do this, you know, that would be a buy. 100% would be a buying opportunity of a lifetime. Okay, that's enough about NKLA. And NKLA, oh, by the way, in NKLA, this could be the buying opportunity of a lifetime. And we just don't know it yet. All the fraud stuff was just stuff and wasn't really a fraud stuff. And this could be the buying opportunity of a lifetime. Disney. How's it going, Phil? I like Disney. I don't know. I like it. Because I watch all these Disney movies with my kid. Okay. It was the most amazing thing coming out with the Disney stream. Earnings. When are Disney earnings? They're coming up. So let's start looking for earnings run-ups this week, guys. Right? It's above all the moving averages. Yes, we put in a bearish day on Friday. But in the context of this dip down here, which by the way, congrats for everyone who went long on Disney. I believe we had it in the Discord. High or low? It looks like it ran up to do what? It ran up to test this prior area, has pulled back, and is now running up again. That's what it looks like. EYPL. Okay. I like it. These are good, guys. I like this. This same thing. We just see a little bit of, in one aspect, it almost looks like it's doing the rollover thing, but another way of looking at this is you have this all-time high, probably around September 1st, or the end of August. Pulled back, and has rallied up there again, and then just ran up to run a test, and now it's pulling back again. It looks like it's doing this. And I don't know, like, I don't know if that's what it's doing, but that's I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but that's what it looks like. You know, let's go to hourly. Same kind of scenario, right? So if you are long, this is driving me crazy. Let me do something really quick. You guys like to have your charts, oh wait, where did it go? You like to have your charts. I like space on the right side of my chart. I like to have that little bit of space so I can kind of envision where it's going. uh Looks like the same thing, right? So you had a little bit of, this looks beautiful, right? You have this high over here, it sells off, puts in a low, and it's been making higher highs, higher lows. A little bit of consolidation here, a little bit of pattern like that. It broke out, ran up here to the to the prior resistant level, close enough, pulled back, and now it's rallying again. It could fall out of, it could fall. I don't know, right? We could let the pattern develop a little bit more. Maybe there's something like, oh, I hate drawing patterns, because the problem with drawing patterns is we get too many patterns going. We could always change it if we don't like it. Like here's one, right? So I'm like, oh, that looks bearish, so I'm going to change it. I don't like the way that looks. I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to put a resistant level up here, and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to say it's pulling back, but it's bullish. It's above all the moving averages. The last hour of the day, there's a little bit of stuff to be concerned of. You do have a reversal candle right here. Be careful of that one and be careful of this guy. Both of those are reversal candles. So there is going to be a little bit of resistance up here, and there's going to be some more up at the highs up here. Price levels around 207. Call it 207.30 cents. And this upper one, say it's 209. No reason to be selling out of, what is this, PayPal? Yeah, PayPal. I would hold it if I was long. Well, I guess if you're short, let me know if you're short. Mexico pay for China trade deal. Interesting. Shop. Okay. By the way, guys, thank you for joining the stream today. If you're new, welcome. Hit the subscribe button, bell notifications, so when we go live like we are now, you won't miss a thing. And yeah, every Sunday. Hit the like button if you're gaining value. Subscribe, bell notification. Okay. Shop. From 2016 till now, 6,007%. Beautiful weekly chart. Looks like it found same thing. It's almost like it's doing the same thing as the rest of them. And this is an interesting one because what's going to happen to this company when, which might be a while, but what happens to Shop when coronavirus is over? Question I would ask myself right now if I was long in this trade is this going to be a higher low compared to the previous all-time high of $1,146, right? If I do this and say you do have this higher low, higher highs coming up to this one, and now what it looks like it sold off, and it's now done this. Now, one of two things is happening right now. It ran up, is pulling back a little bit to get ready to break out. That's one scenario. The other scenario is it put in a high over here, it put in a low right here, and now it's possibly going to be a lower high, but we don't know that yet. We don't know it just yet. We'll know it once price starts selling off here, if it does. But there's no reason to sell it. If you're in the trade, I would definitely hold it, especially if you bought it on Thursday. That would be a beautiful buy. If you pick this up Thursday, there's no reason to close out of that. You could have a stop around 10.34, somewhere in there. Upper pump, so they get exit their position. Yeah, I believe that. Eton 4-hour last bar is a bearish inside bar, and it could drop to 107. Don't tease me. Don't tease me. I'm probably gonna start covering it soon. We'll see. Wait, which chart? The 4-hour. Yeah, we'll see how it ends up here. I mean, it could stay bullish if it stays above 127. 66. It could stay bullish. I mean, that's the thing, is it has a lot of room, and this is the benefit of where I caught it at, because it has a lot of room to run. I mean, this thing could pull back to $71. No, I don't want to say that. This thing could pull back to $94, and it would still be bullish on a weekly chart. It has a lot of room. You know what I mean? Is that it? Is that it for tickers? INTC. Oh, wait, did I skip one? $10. I am betting on 10. LA. Yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised. I remember with Neo, I sold Neo. This is when okay, do you guys see these lines on the screen? This is when I stopped trading Neo. I don't know if you can see these yellow lines down here. Do you see those? The bottom of the screen down through here. This is when I stopped trading Neo. Okay. Let's do INTC and then we'll wrap it up. Unless you guys have anything else. Unless you have anything else. INTC. I remember the day we posted this on a Facebook page. I'm gonna let the group remain nameless. And I remember we got a lot of laughs. Okay, so beautiful trade if you ever got into INTC. As far as long term, short term, let's look at the 4-year chart, right? The higher up we climb, it's going to want to run a test up here around $60. It's headed there. That's what it looks like it wants to do on a weekly time frame. Now, it doesn't mean that it has to happen soon. So we could still sell off. In fact, we could definitely sell off from here on a weekly chart kind of thing. This could be a giant bear flag, okay? But on the daily chart, it looks like it wants to fill this gap. It looks like it's working on it. And the gap I'm talking about, it's already partially the way up there, right? Here's the gap. It's around it's $60 and 30 something cents, right? It looks like it's trying to get there. It's finding a little bit of trouble right here with this 200 period moving average. It's finding a little bit of trouble, but it is starting to get up there. It's starting to work up through there. And if I do this, you kind of see where it's getting pinched in between the 20, the 50, and then you have the 200 period come down here. It's starting to get pinched. It ran up, it found resistance, and now it's pulled back a little bit, and then it rallied. I would definitely be long. Not sure I would enter the trade just yet tomorrow, but look what happened. When we broke through this, there was a band of resistance right here. It ran up to it, pulls back, it ran above it, it went down to do what? And now it's taken off now. So all of this to keep in mind, all of this to consider. I don't think I would go long just yet until it broke through this 200 period. But as far as being in the trade, there's no reason to exit the trade. As far as being short, I don't know. I would wait for it to break that back below 52.22. That might not be the right number. I'll give you the right number. I would wait for it to break 52.62 roughly to start entering short. Is that it? See. Yeah, January call, I think it's okay. Just keeping in mind, like, you know, we have all the things we talked about at the beginning of the stream, all the reasons why the market should whip around. Coronavirus 3.0, stimulus, no stimulus, you know, the president's going to be whoever's in office. You know, the market may sell off if the president stays in office, or it might sell off if the new president takes the office. We don't know. We know what sectors might benefit from either. We know what sectors might benefit from the vice president, either of the vice presidents. Not to get political because I'm not headed there. We don't know what the market will do. We have to look at the things that they vote on. Where are those people strong? Where are they weak? Private prison sector or stocks, private or cannabis stocks. We have to really consider these things. Maybe gun sales will have an impact. Possibly biotech. You know, we never looked at biotech. We'll do biotech and we'll wrap it up with that. Out of all of them, biotech looks the weakest, which is interesting because I don't know. I mean, if a vaccine comes out, you think this thing would be rallying, but it looked like a pretty bad last couple weeks here, last 2 weeks. Oh, this is the daily chart. Never mind. So we ran up, right? Here's prior resistance. We pulled back from that after running up to it. And now we're coming back up in it again. So the question now is this going to hold? Like, let's say this is a giant flag, which I don't know if I'd call that a flag, but let's say we've put in a low here, a higher low, higher low, higher low. Since then, we've had higher highs. If I see a little bit of action coming into tomorrow, that might be something to lean into tomorrow or sometime this week, because if we start getting up in this gap, it might want to go fill this price. In fact, the more we bump up into the 146.29 area, the more likely it is we get through that area. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. We will see you this week. Good luck this week. Don't forget to post your names on the Discord, then the companies that you guys are going to be following this week, the ones that you're going to be buying this week. Don't forget. We will see you guys in the next video, in the next stream. Thank you all.